Hari Om. Taittiriya Upanishad. This Upanishad is from Rig Veda. Rig Veda is one of the Vedas. Rig Veda, Yajur Veda, Sam Veda, Atharva Veda. So this is from Rig Veda. And the main theme of this Upanishad is the same as the theme of all other Upanishads, that is Brahma. That Brahma, which is our own self, is revealed in this Upanishad. And what is the use of this Brahmadnyan? One becomes free from all our bondage. One becomes free of sorrow, fear, pain, suffering. And that is what each one of us are striving to attain. All of us, we want to get rid of our sorrows. No one wants to be sorrowful, suffering. We want to be free of all our sorrows. And we want permanent, eternal happiness. But this seems to be an illusory, seems to be like an illusory goal. It appears as though it's some utopian idea, not possible to gain. Because there is always some sorrow or other which keeps happening. Because of our body, our senses, our mind, and the world around, which constantly changes, and identification with them gives rise to different types of sorrow. The constant change which is happening in our body itself is enough to give us sorrow. Kuch na kuch every day keeps happening, and one feels miserable. So taking birth itself miserable, living becomes miserable, dying also becomes miserable. Some people remain in border also, neither alive nor dead, in between. So everything is a great misery. Subtler than this body is our mind. Our mind also cooks up various types of sorrow and pain. Actual sorrows, there are some condition which gives rise to the sorrows, or imaginary sorrows and suffering and fears. Then our intellect also has got its own theories and philosophies of life. If the philosophy is narrow, limited, then that also gives us sorrow. Then our surrounding, our family members, they are also sometimes expert in giving sorrow as gifts. And our neighbors, our society, then of course our government and our neighboring country. So you name it, and we get sorrow from these various sources. And some say even God gives sorrow. Bhagwan ne mujhe aisa kyun kiya? So Bhagwan also is blamed for our sorrow. Our prarabdha is blamed. Past is blamed. Our ancestors are blamed. So all of us are trying to get rid of sorrow, suffering. That is quite natural. Not only human being, but even animals, birds, they also try to get rid of suffering. And we want positive, eternal happiness. But is it really there? Or is it just an imaginary goal which doesn't exist? And we keep perceiving it till we die. So all the literature of this world, man-made literatures of this world, do not give us any solution. They really don't have any solution. Temporary solution might be there, but the eternal, lasting solution is not there in any of these literatures of the world. But there is hope, and that hope is there in our Vedas. The Vedas, which are considered as Apaurushaya and Anadi, means not human-made, and they are beginningless and eternal. They have the answer. And in the Vedas, the end portion of Vedas, the Upanishad, gives us the answer, the solution. The Upanishads convey that our problem is not that there is actually the sorrow, but we have identified with that which is constantly changing. And this identification gives rise to this sorrow. We won't go into details about this identification. That is a different topic altogether. But the Upanishads say, what you really are, if you find out, if you recognize, then you will become free of all this sorrow, because you really are that supreme Brahma alone. So the real nature of our self is revealed in the Vedas, in the Upanishad. And if we follow the path shown, we will be able to realize that self. So that is why we study this Upanishad, we study other Upanishads. Also, we study Bhagavad Gita, which is also based on Upanishad, and follow the path shown by these great scriptures. Now we will tell something more about it, but let us begin with the Shanti mantra. Every Upanishad has its own Shanti mantra based on the Veda in which it contains. So this Upanishad is found in Rig Veda. So for Rig Veda, this is the Shanti mantra. You repeat after me. Om Vang Me Manasi Pratisthita Mano Me Vache Pratishtitam Aviravirma Edhi Vedasya Ma'ani Isthaha Shrutam Me Ma Prahasi Anena Dhitena Horatran Sandadhami Ritam Vadishyami Satyam Vadishyami Tanmamavatu Tadvaktaramavatu Avatu Mam Avatu Vaktaram Avatu Vaktaram Om Shanti 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 So before we begin the Upanishad, we should pray for peace. The Guru and the Shishya together before they used to begin the study, they used to invoke peace. Because only in the environment of peace one can understand. 3 times we say peace, 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 Om Shanti, 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 because this disturbance comes from 3 different levels. I have told you before also, but let us again, you can hear. So we have Adhyatmika Shanti, Adi Bhautika Shanti, and Adi Daivika Shanti. So to pacify all these 3 levels of Ashanti, we invoke Shanti. Let there be peace. And we are praying to that Ishvara. Lot of things are, we feel they are in our hand. Really speaking, everything is in Ishvara's hand. He is the master. And He is all knowing, all pervading, and all powerful. So we pray to Ishvara that let there be peace within. Sincere prayer. It is said, when we pray sincerely, our prayers are answered. So we pray that let there be peace from within. May my body be peaceful. May all my senses become peaceful. May my mind be peaceful. May my intellect be peaceful. So let there be total peace in this body, mind, intellect, personality. Let there be complete peace. Then we invoke peace in the surrounding. May there be peace around me. In the immediate neighborhood, let there be total peace. Let others who are there, they also be peaceful. Let their mobiles don't ring. May all be peaceful and nice. And don't disturb the peace of the environment. So Adi Bhautik Shanti. Then Adi Daivik Shanti, Shanti at a wider level, total world level. Let there be no wars and famine and earthquakes, tsunamis and all. Let there be peace at the cosmic level also. So invoking peace. And also this prayer prepares the student and the teacher to study the scriptures. All these Shanti mantras are beautiful. They also give us the way to tune ourselves to the scriptures. So it's a wonderful thing. It says, Ki Om is Ishvara's name only, name of God, Om. So before we pray, we should call Ishvara that we are praying to you. So even when we speak or we address some person, then we speak. Otherwise that person will not listen. So we invoke or attract attention of Ishvara towards us. He knows. But we attract. We say Om. But this much is enough. Om, when we say, Bhagwan looks at us. Baba, kya? What's your problem? So Om is beautiful name of Ishvara. Short and sweet. In fact, it contains all the sounds possible. Because when you open the mouth, the first sound which comes out is A. And then the rolling sound U. And last is that M. So between A and Ma are all the sounds, and all names are with sounds. So all the possible names of Ishvara contains in Om. Om, if you say, it includes Krishna, Rama, Govinda, everyone. So Om. Just remembering Bhagwan with name itself brings that peace and quietude in our mind. It brings purity in our heart. Apavitro pavitro va sarvavastagatopi va yas maret pundarikaksham sabahya abhyantara shuchihi. That one who even remembers Ishvara becomes pure from inside as well as outside. That is the power. When we remember something low, we also become low. When we remember the highest, we tune ourselves to that highest. So, Om Vang me manasi pratishtita. May my speech vak. May my speech be rooted in the mind. May my speech be rooted in the mind. Vang me pratishtita, manasi pratishtita. And mano me vachi pratishtitam. And may my mind be rooted in speech. Means when I speak, my speech and my mind should be well tuned. There should not be any disharmony. See, Vani is the organ of action. Mind is the internal organ. Mind represents all our intellect, antakaran. Vani, the speech, as well as all the other senses. So the very important thing which is required for a seeker is integration of his or her, that personality, this equipment should be well tuned. Mind and speech should be well tuned. This is the adhar of dharma also. That what I speak is also there in my heart. Not lip service nowadays, we say, lip service. That it is just getting expressed at the level of lips. What I am saying, I am feeling it. I am convinced about it. That is what is called the speech being rooted in the mind. It is not just coming from the superficial level. What I am saying is touching the deepest core of my being, of the antakarana. It's very interesting and very important. See, otherwise also all speech is connected to our mind only. But when we are conscious of it, and when we speak that which is good, that which is real, that which is pure, then it purifies it. When the mind and speech is tuned properly, it purifies the mind. Mind cannot be seen. Mind is so subtle. But speech is something which is more in our control. Sometimes people don't have control over that also, but more. So when we speak or chant some mantra, and if it is connected, I feel it, I am convinced about it, then it brings about transformation in my mind also. And in the same way, whatever is there in my mind, it also should be well tuned with my speech or outer action. What I think, what I am convinced about, I should have the conviction, I should have the courage to put it into practice also. So mind, antakarana, and speech should be tuned. Many times it happens that we feel we are convinced. We feel that yes, everything is clear, but it is not seen in our action. I had mentioned in the other class also that your knowledge, the test of your knowledge is in its expression. Yeah? If I am convinced about things, it should be seen in the expression. Therefore, in Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavan talks about Stita Prajna. Stita Prajna, Prajna means knowledge. Stita Prajna, one whose Prajna, whose knowledge, is seated, has become steady in the Supreme Self. So what is his Lakshana? Characteristic, and Bhagavan gives outer characteristics. The way he walks, the way he interacts, the way he talks, the way he deals with people, the way he responds to the various results which come. That means his knowledge, wisdom is now connected with his action also. So, this is very important, the integration of this personality is a very important step for the student. That whatever you say, it should touch your heart. And whatever touches your heart, you should say, means it should get expressed. They should be well in tune. So when I am speaking, my speech should come from the depth of my feeling and understanding. So Vang me manasi pratishtita, may my speech be rooted in my mind. And that was what was followed in the good old days, even now, as dharma. Like Ramchandra ji is the very embodiment of dharma. And what is his dharma? So whatever word he has given, you should keep it. Raghukula Reet sada chali aayi, pran jai, par vachana na jai. That is the dharma. Ki whatever vachan you have given, you keep it. You maintain it. You promise whatever has been given. Because we don't do it in Kali Yuga, we have to sign bonds, then witnesses, then all sorts of things. What is it? It is just a promise. Then why you want all this sign and all? Because everyone knows that this fellow will not keep it, so we can hold him later on. Otherwise, these things are not required. Like even marriages and all, Agni ko sakshi maankar and all those things. Agni is there who has seen, so no other witness is required. Devtas are there, we invoke the Devtas. They are the witness. So Vang me manasi pratishtita, mano me vachi pratishtitam. May my mind be also rooted in my speech. Aviravirma edhi. The prayer is that may that Brahma reveal itself to me. May that Brahma reveal itself to me. O Brahma, reveal thyself to me. Aviravirma edhi. The Upanishad talks about Brahma. The word Brahma has come from the Upanishads. And what it means, we have to approach the Upanishad also only for understanding it. Upanishad says it cannot be seen, cannot be touched, cannot be felt, cannot be smelt, cannot be comprehended with the mind, cannot be comprehended with the intellect. Maybe it is not there. No, it is there. It is there. But this is the limitation of our senses, our mind, our intellect. Therefore, with the help of all these faculties, we will never be able to even guess this Brahma. It can be comprehended only with the help of the Upanishad. All that science can tell us is all that can be seen through the senses. See, we have these pramanas, we call them, to gain knowledge. One is called pratyaksha. Pratyaksha means that which can be seen through the senses. Eyes, ears, nose, skin. This is pratyaksha praman. We can use some equipment to enhance this pratyaksha. If things are very far, we can use a telescope. If things are small, we can use microscope. But all of them are pratyaksha. Through the senses, we see those objects and we come to know what they are. Then there is called anuman praman, inference. Based on what we are seeing, we can infer what is not seen. But we should know their relationship. I see smoke and I can infer fire, but I should know that smoke and fire go together. And here also, the confirmation of inference also happens with pratyaksha only. I see smoke, I infer that there is fire, and I go there, and yes, there is fire, it gets confirmed. If there is no fire, or if it is something else, then the inference doesn't work. So the inference work when both the things are known. So from seeing one, we infer the other. So inference is there. Then we have upamanam, it is called. By comparison, we can gain knowledge. If I have seen, like a little children, you show them a cow. This animal is cow. And then again the child sees another cow. He says, cow. So how it knows, it compares. Even a little child has got this ability. It has seen only one cow. But when it sees another different cow, it knows that this is the same. This is also called cow. So upamanam. So pratyaksha, anuman, upaman, arthapatti. Arthapatti means from seeing the effect, we infer the cause. If we see the whole place wet, when we wake up in the morning, we infer that it must have rained. And what is called shabda, words of a reliable person, that also is called praman. I might not have seen a particular object, but somebody sees it and comes and tells me, that also becomes praman. But all these pramanas fail because Brahma is not an object of perception, nor an object of inference, nor an object of comparison, nor an object about which somebody can tell, nor is it there is any cause and effect relationship. It cannot be comprehended by any means. So about that Brahma, the scriptures talk about it, and scriptures also give us a beautiful way to recognize and realize that Brahma as our own self, which we will see as we go along. So here the prayer is, कि may that Brahma reveal itself to me. So aviravir mayedhi vedasya ma'ani isthaha. Again, the theme of the Vedas. May the theme of the Vedas, may I be able to understand. The theme of the Veda is Brahma only. The main teaching of the Veda is that the self, yourself is Brahma. I am Atma Brahma. In this Upanishad, we will study Prajnanam Brahma. So this theme, the main teaching of the Upanishads or the Vedas, may I comprehend it. May I be fit enough to comprehend this. May I gain all the qualification required to understand the theme of the Vedas. So Vedasya ma'ani is taha shrutam me ma prahasihi. And for that what is required is that we have to listen to the scriptures. Shravanam, mananam and nididhyasam. Atma va are drashtavyaha, shrotavyaha, mantavyaha, nididhyasitavyaha. In Brihadaranyaka Upanishad it is said that Atma you have to see through Shravan, Manan and Nididhyasan. So whatever Shravan I am doing, may I remember it. What happens? We do keep on doing Shravan and keep on forgetting also at the same rate. The entire theme of the entire Veda is this only. So we may study a lot, but the theme, the main essence, we should be able to understand, grasp it. It might take a long time. It is not that simple. It requires a lot of what you call first qualification and proper effort to comprehend. So may I remember whatever I have heard, may it not get lost. Shrutam me ma prahasihi. May all that I have heard doesn't get lost. But after listening, what is required is study, contemplation. So the Brahma, which is indicated in the Vedas, can be comprehended through Shravan, Manan, Nididhyasan. Comprehended means we will be able to identify with that Brahma by following the path of Shravan, Manan, Nididhyasan. It is our own self only. But to identify with that, to gain that state of enlightenment, we have to follow the path of Shravan, Manan, Nididhyasan. It's like a person who is sleepy, still he works towards it and then merges into that state of sleep. Similarly, through Shravan we come to understand that Brahma, that self as Brahma. Through Manan we get convinced, and through Nididhyasan we gain that abidance in that Brahma, abidance in our own Supreme Self. So this path is very important. So may I, anena adhitena ahoratran sandadhami, may I spend day and night, ahoratram, may I spend day and night studying the whatever I have heard, the scriptures, the Upanishad. May I spend all day of my life, day and night, studying this. Anena adhitena ahoratran sandadhami. One should get totally obsessed by that contemplation. It has to be understood. And once we understand, see, there are only 2-3 things which we have to understand. 3 things. What are they? like all the Mahavakyas, Aham Brahma Asmi, Tattvam Asi, Prajnanam Brahma. So exactly we should know, not even 3, 2. We should know who is this Aham. This is very important. When it is said Aham Brahmasmi, the first thing which we should know is exactly what is the meaning of Aham. It should not be vague. It should not be vague. But it should be as clear. And that clarity comes through the study. It is not something vague. It's very, if vague, then it is not called knowledge. So the scriptures give us the knowledge of this Aham and also tells us this Aham is that Brahma. So we, through contemplation, we first have to understand what is this Aham. Because a lot of other things are mistaken for Aham. The Idam is mistaken for Aham. That which is not I is mistaken for I. That's called Adhyas. Right? Like the mother of silver is there, but we think it is silver. That mother of pearl. Shuktika. Or the rope is there, we think there is a snake. So the self has to be understood. What is the meaning of Aham or I am Atma? It said I am Atma Brahma. So what is this I am Atma? Aham Brahmasmi. What is this Aham? And here we will see, and it will become very clear. Prajnanam Brahma. What is this Prajna? So Aham itself is called Prajnanam. Aham itself is called Atma. Aham itself is called in Tattvamasi, that Tvam, you. So that exact understanding of Aham, then exact understanding of that Brahma. What is the meaning of Brahma? What the scriptures are talking about? So that is the Mananam. And then the Nididhyasan. Nididhyasan is dhyan only, but निश्चय के बाद किया हुआ ध्यान. When we are convinced that I am that Brahma intellectually, through the study of the scriptures, when we are convinced that yes, I am Brahma, after this conviction, the meditation we do, that is called Nididhyasan. Vedanta uses the word Nididhyasan, not Dhyan. Dhyan word is not used. श्रवण मनन ध्यान ऐसा नहीं बोलते हम लोग. श्रवण मनन निरिध्यासन. Niridhyasan means after conviction, after understanding, Aham Brahmasmi, then the dhyana. It's like sometimes the example is given of a worldly example of even marriage. The girl and boy gets married. Before marriage, they don't know the existence of each other. Sometimes it is said that सब उसमें लिखा हुआ होता है किससे शादी होगी वगैरह. Marriages are made in heaven. Maintenance is your responsibility and all. So, if marriages are made in heaven, already think that the girl and the boy doesn't know. किससे शादी हुई पता नहीं. So then, that is called ignorance. Then, श्रवण हो जाता है, रिश्ता आ जाता है. In the good old days, some अम्मा will come and tell, या और कोई आके बताते हैं, या ना ही बताता था, पता नहीं मुझे कौन बताता था. बाल काटते काटते बताता था. शर्मा जी का अच्छा बेटा है. And आधी दाढ़ी कही हुई है. If he says no, then sometimes he will not complete the दाढ़ी also. So then that girl is told, so she does Shravan, yeah? She comes to know about it. And then she meets that boy, फिर से शादी हो जाती है. But even after meeting, there is a distance is there. शादी हो जाती है, then slowly, still there is some distance. But as they live together for a long time, that distance become or goes away, and they become one unit. Similarly, when we are ignorant, we don't know who am I and what is happening. Then we do Shravan, we come to know that I am that Brahma. ब्रह्म के साथ शादी होने वाली है आपकी. अच्छा, कौन है ब्रह्म, कहाँ रहते हैं? Stays everywhere. He's big. But I don't want to marry a big person. No, he's quite big. So Brahma, Shravan. Then we contemplate, we understand. Union हो जाता है. But we have to live together for a long time, then that oneness comes. All differences disappear, and one gain perfect abidance in that Brahma. So for this, one has to strive. So may I put forth effort day and night to comprehend that Brahma. Anena aditena ahoratran sandadhami. Ritam vadishyami, may I speak Ritam. Ritam means the truth as revealed in the scriptures and as understood from that. There are certain things which are, as I said, are not within the scope of our senses. Two things. The Vedas, their theme are two. One is Dharma and another is Brahma. Both of them are not within the scope of our senses. Dharma means the righteousness, what is good, what is right, what is proper. The knowledge of this is given to us in our Vedas, and the knowledge of Brahma is also revealed in the Vedas. The initial portion of the Vedas reveal the Dharma, and the later portion reveals the Brahma. So, whatever is said there is the truth, and that when I speak, that truth when I speak, that is called speaking Ritam. Ritam vadishyami. May I speak the truth revealed in the scriptures. Ritam vadishyami. When I speak, it's for the speaker also. That may I speak only that which is revealed in the scriptures, not that I give my own stories. Scriptures say one thing, but we can give our own stories. So may we not deviate from the path or the truth revealed in the scriptures. And Satyam vadishyami. And may I speak the truth. Satya is the truth which is seen and experienced through our senses, the world. May I speak what is truthful, what is proper, which is understood from the world. So Ritam vadishyami, Satyam vadishyami. Tan maam avatu, that may that Supreme protect me. Tan maam avatu. Tad vaktaram avatu. May that Ishvara protect the vakta, the speaker. Avatu maam. May he protect me. Avatu vaktaram. May he protect the speaker, the teacher. Avatu vaktaram. May he protect the teacher, the speaker. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Let there be peace, peace and peace. It's a very beautiful prayer. You please repeat once more, then we will go on for the main text. Om Vang me manasi pratisthita Mano me vache pratishthitam Aviravirma edhi Vedasya ma ani isthaha Shrutam me ma prahasi Anenadhitena horatran sandadhami Ritam vadishyami Satyam vadishyami Tanmamavatu Tadvaktaramavatu Avatu mam Avatu vaktaram Avatu vaktaram Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. In this Upanishad, the Supreme Reality is revealed in a very beautiful way. Even the creation is described in detail. So there is always this confusion in people's mind. What is that Supreme Reality? Who is Ishvara? What is this world? Who am I? What is my relationship with the world and with Ishvara? So all these questions come in our mind. And these questions will get answered as we study this Upanishad. Also there is question whether the world is real or unreal. Because a lot of misunderstanding is there about that also. So all this will become clear as we study this Upanishad. So let us just begin with the first mantra. Om Atma va idameka evagra asit. Na anyat kinchana mishata. Om Atma va idameka evagra asit. Na anyat kinchana mishata. First. Om. Again, every Upanishad begins with this beautiful Bhagwan's name, Om. The entire essence of all the Vedas can be put in this one sound itself, Om. In Bhagavad Gita also Bhagwan says, Pranavas sarva Vedeshu. I am the Pranava. I am that Om in all the Vedas. So Om. Atma va idam eka eva agra asit na anyat kinchana mishata. It's like a story now Upanishad is telling. That idam agra, idam eka eva asit, atma va idam, eka eva agra asit. That before idam, before this world, idam means world, which is experienced as idam. Idam taya drishyamanam. All that we experience as idam is called the world. One of its lakshana, jagat. Jagat is experienced by all of us. And this jagat which we experience has got various lakshanas, characteristics. One very interesting characteristic of this world is that it is constantly changing. This is the characteristic of world, that it is constantly changing. But it is always present. It is nitya. It is nitya, but constantly changing. It's called anrita. That constant changing phenomena is called anrita. It's like the river. It's constantly the water is flowing, but river is always there. Like Gangaji. Many years ago, thousands of years ago, when the Rishi Munis were there, that time also the Gangaji was there. Even now it is there. But the waters keep on changing. So it is called Parinami Nitya. Constantly changing, but it is there. Similarly, this world is constantly changing, but it is Nitya. It's always there. That is one thing of this world. Another thing of this world is that it has got three more lakshanas. What is it? It is born, it remains, and again it goes into laya. Utpatti, sthiti, and laya it is called. Utpatti, sthiti, and laya. Utpatti means it comes into manifestation. Sthiti, it remains. And laya, it goes into unmanifestation. Then again it comes into manifestation. Again it remains. Again it goes. This goes on and on. Nitya. Eternally. It's always present. So that Jagat is Utpatti, Sthiti, and Laya. So when now it is Sthiti Avastha. At present we are looking at this world, it is Sthiti. Just as an individual level also, our own little world gets created, it is sustained, and when we go to sleep, it goes into Laya Avastha at an individual level. Then again it is born. So when we go to sleep, all our world starts unfolding itself into us. Slowly we become unaware of the surrounding. If it happens during pravachan, so slowly like words like Brahman and all stop entering our system. Laya avastha mein. So when a doctor goes to sleep, he remains asleep. But when he wakes up, the same doctor who slept the previous day wakes up. Similarly, the same world which has gone into Laya Avastha, again there is Utpatti. Utpatti of the same world. That which had gone into Laya Avastha. So, here when it is, that is also nature of this world. So Nitya, it constantly changes. Then it has got this Utpatti, Sthiti, Laya. Then it is Jada Roop. Jada, Jada means it is experienced as idam. It is always experienced by someone, in the sense I am the experiencer of it. So it is jada, yad drishyam. It is yad drishyam tad jadam. It is jada. Yeah? It is, as I said, it is changing. That changing that is called anrita, or it is sometimes called mithya also. Mithya means that which constantly changes. That's called mithya. Or anrita. Anrita is a technical word for it. So it is anrita, jada, and parichinna. Parichinna means limited. Limited in time, limited in structure, limited. That is also nature of this world. Anrita, jada, parichinna. And the nature of that Brahma, which we will see later on, is Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma. We will come to that Brahma later on. But here the Jagat of this, which is now in Sthiti, he says that Idam, before this Sthiti, where was it? In Laya Avastha. And in Laya Avastha in this world was what? Atma va idam. Atma va idam eka eva agras. It was Atma alone. Atma and Brahma is same. So before this world, before its manifestation as with various names and forms, it was Atma alone. Now also it is Atma only. But now it also is known by so many other names. It's like, suppose you have various ornaments, necklace, bangles, or earring. Yes, I know only 3. Before they were all these various names, all of them were gold only. Now also they are gold. But now they are known not only as gold, but they are also known as necklace, bangle, earrings. Similarly, the world, before it's all these names and forms, it was only as Atma, Atma alone, the self alone. It was Atma alone. Om Atma va idam eka eva agras. This is very important, because we will come to understand the real nature of this world. It is not what you call not there. It is there. World is there. It is not absent. It is there. But it is constantly changing. And its real nature of this world is Atma alone. The real nature of this world is Atma, or that Brahma. The nature of Brahma, or Brahma, can exist without this names and forms, expression of names and forms. But world cannot exist without that Brahma. It's like gold can exist without bangles and necklaces. But bangle necklaces cannot exist without gold. Gold, other than gold, nothing is there. So what do we mean by bangle and necklaces? They are just a name and form. They don't have a separate existence. There is nothing called bangle and necklace separate from gold. It doesn't have a separate existence. The essential nature of all of them is gold only. Similarly, the essential nature of this world is that Brahma, Atma alone, not anything else. Just as the presence of different names and forms on gold doesn't add anything to gold, not subtract anything from gold. It is not changing the gold at all. Gold, without undergoing any change in its nature, appears like the various ornaments. So similarly, the self or Brahma alone, without undergoing any change in its nature, appears like this world of names and forms of this quality of Utpatti Sthiti Laya. So Om Atma va idam eka eva agra aset. All this variety of things which we know as mountains, the rivers, the Akash, Vayu, Agni, Jal, Prithvi, so many names. Human being, animal, birds, plant, devta, swarga, narak, and atal, vital, sutal, talatal, rasatal, patal, bhur, bhur, swa, so many lokas. Once upon a time, all of them were just Atma alone. They were only known as self. They were not manifest. That is what. Okay, Atma alone. Was there anything else also? Was there any other object? No. Na anyat kinchana mishata. There was nothing other than Atma. Other than this Supreme Atma. See, the word Atma is also a very technical word. It's another word for Brahma only. Shankaracharya ji writes the meaning of that word Atma. He says, Atma apnotehe attehe ataterva paras sarvajnyaha sarvashaktihi ashanayadi sarva samsara dharma varjitaha nitya shuddha buddha mukta svabhavaha ajaha ajaraha amaraha amritaha abhayaha advayaha vai idam yaduktam nama rupa karma bheda bhinnam jagat atmaiva eko agre jagatah shrushtehe prag aset. This Atma, that word Atma has come from, it means that which is all pervading, that which eats everything, because once the Jagat goes into Laya Avastha, it is the Atma only, as though it swallows the entire world. And it is that which is always, it's also all pervading, Gamana Bodhak, all existing everywhere, and that which eats everything, which is Ajaha, unborn, Ajaraha, free from old age, Shuddha Buddha Mukta Svabhavaha, Nitya Shuddha Buddha Mukta Svabhavaha. So this Atma alone was there in the beginning. Na anyat kinchana mishata, nothing else was there. Then what happened? Then the creation began. How did it happen? We'll chant that next verse. Sa ikshata lokanushrja iti. Sa ikshata lokanushrja iti. That Atma itself, which is called Brahma also, ikshata, thought. First we'll see the meaning, then all your questions will answer. Sa ikshata, it thought. What did it think? Ki lokan no shruja iti, let me create the world. Let there be world, let me create the world. See this again, few things you have to understand. This Atma or this Brahma has got its own intrinsic power, which is called Maya. Maya is the power of that Brahma, which also is one with that Brahma, which also is Nitya like that Brahma. Brahma Shakti. It's called Maya. So, Brahma, along with his this power, Maya, and this world, everything becomes one with that Brahma in that Laya Avastha. But again, when the Jagat Utpatti happens, then Brahma alone takes the support of this Maya, his own power, and projects this world. In Bhagavad Gita also, Bhagavan says, Maya adhyakshena prakriti suyate sacharacharam. This Maya is also called Prakriti. Mayam tu prakritim vidyat, Mayinam tu maheshwaram. Maya is also called Prakriti. In Gita, Bhagavan says that this is my Maya. When what you call, Daivi hesha gunamayi mama maya duratyaya. Mameva ye prapadyante mayam etam tarantite. That this is my Daivi Maya. This is my Maya, my Shakti, Trigunatmika. So this Maya is also Nitya. Nitya means eternal. The Trigunas which is there in Maya is also eternal. The world which is projected by this Maya is also eternal. The nature of the world we have seen. They are like the names and forms which doesn't bring about any change in the reality. Just as the ornament doesn't change gold, this doesn't bring about change in the nature of that supreme reality. So Ishvara is that Brahma alone is called Ishvara also when he takes on when he expresses through the Shakti, his Shakti of Maya. It's called Ishvara. So the term Ishvara is used for Brahma only. Brahma alone is called Ishvara when he is endowed with that power. For example, if a person is sitting quietly and I tell you that he is the cook, you will say, oh, what cook? He is just sitting there snoring. So then he is a cook. We have not seen him action. So when he gets up, goes to the kitchen and start doing all this, then we come to know. Similarly, Ishvara is that Brahma alone, along with his power called Maya. And that Brahma, that Ishvara, he projects this world, creates this world. He creates this world means exactly as it was before it went into Laya Avastha. So there are these billions, millions, countless jivas are there. And all these jivas, they have their own desires or vasanas. And they have this intense desire to fulfill those vasanas. And for those fulfillment of those vasanas, some field is required. And slowly the story will build up. As we go along, the whole picture will become more clear. The other day somebody showed me a very beautiful video of a painter. He had only 3 minutes to paint. And he had kept the canvas and he was just painting something. He put a border like black. And nobody knew what he was painting. Then he put some more colors in between. Here, there. In 3 minutes he had to do the whole painting. and he did, and nothing was making any sense. 3 minutes was up, he finished his painting, nothing was making sense. Then he just picked it up and turned it, and it was a beautiful portrait. Amazing portrait he had done. Everything started making sense. Yeah. So even if in the beginning nothing makes sense, you keep on listening. I am making a portrait. Maybe it might seem ulta, but it will become all right as you go along. But this is very important because I am trying to remove some of the misunderstandings about Vedanta. As we study this, it will become more and more clear. So, sa ikshata lokanusruja iti, that Ishvara, he thought. And he doesn't need mind to think. He doesn't need hands to work. He doesn't need legs to move. Without mind, he can think. Without eyes, he can see. Without ears, he can listen. He has got the capacity to know, but with the help of the equipment, it can be put into vyavahar. It's like I have the capacity to write. When I take a pen in my hand, I can express that capacity. But even without the pen in my hand, I am the writer. Even without the eyes, without the ears, without the mind, God is the knower. He is of the nature of knowledge, jnana. So, sa ikshata lokanusruja iti, he thought that let me create the worlds. And just by his thinking, then he created the world. What exactly he created and what was the sequence and all that we will see tomorrow. Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.